first question, and I'll read the question so the audience knows what the question is. So when did schools strive to offer the best curriculum and instruction to serve our students? What two major issues do you see facing Pine City schools at this time?
Okay, good evening everyone. So the two major issues that I see facing Pine City schools, the first one is early childhood education. Early childhood research is just, more and more research is coming out that creating a solid early childhood base as they're going into kindergarten and then to be reading at grade level by third grade is huge. And currently we do have a space issue for our kindergarten. We have funding issues. We have a waiting list to get into our early childhood programs. And so that's definitely an issue that we have. We have some great things happening in our community though with the Early Childhood Coalition and our Dragon Wagon that reached 745 participants from June to September. And so that is, great strides are happening in early childhood, but that's definitely an issue on our horizon. And then the second one is just closing the achievement gap. Our testing scores that came back, Pine City has fallen below state level for our testing scores, and just closing that achievement gap between Pine City and the state. And then also just looking at closing the achievement gap between the special ed students and general population, and then also free and reduced lunch versus the regular price students, paid lunch students.
Thank you, Wendy. And I apologize. We have a gentleman in the back that's going to give you 3 minutes. He's going to give you a 2-minute, 1-minute warning, and 30 seconds, and then a stop. I apologize for. I think you saw him, but I should have shared that. So, the question goes to Wally Connaker. Wally, would you like me to reread the question?
No.
Okay.
Like one or two of the other candidates in the earlier session, I'd like to thank the Chamber, Becky and the Chamber, Joe and the Community College, and Lisa for Windows for putting this on. And thank you to the audience for being here. The number one issue that I see is we have to do what we say we're going to do, what we've been mandated by the state. With the sunset of No Child Left Behind, we're now in what's called ESSA, ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act. That act says that we will educate all 1,625 students, K through 12, plus our 61 Envisions and ALC to the fullest level of their potential, all the way from the gifted to the 13% that are in special ed. And those that are in special ed are in a wide range of abilities, all the way from, mentioned earlier tonight, one-on-one to several teachers, one-on-two, etc. So we have to do that. We have to give our administration and our staff the resources to see that that gets done. Again, we are mandated to do that. We say we're going to do that. We're going to do that. And number two is that, Wendy, you had the advantage of going first. We need to improve our math and our reading scores. We slipped some this last time, and we got, again, to give our administration, our staff, resources, because those have to improve. We have seen improvement in science, but math and reading needs improvement.
Thank you, Wally. Tim, you'll be next.
Okay, I was looking at what you sent out here, and one of the things you said something about introducing ourselves for a minute. And I think I'll do that just to help you know who I am. I'm a lifelong resident of the Pine City School District. I started my education in a one-room schoolhouse, which I cherish to this day. I'm amazed at the ability of that teacher to be able to handle the kids. I went through elementary to 4th grade and moved into Pine City in 5th grade. One of the unique things I had was that when I was in country school, I was never lower than 3rd in the class. There was 3 in the class. I went to school here and graduated from Pine City High School. There are teachers here that were very instrumental in helping me, and I appreciate that. I went on to Oak Hills Christian College for 2 years, met my wife there. We have 4 daughters, and they all graduated from Pine City High School. And we have been very into education. We stress that with our kids. My wife, after the kids graduated, went back and got her degree while she was working and commuting to St. Paul. So education is really important to us. And one of the reasons I took that much time to do that is that they kind of stole what I was thinking about too. But one of the things I think that's important, and as a community we need to strive for, is that our kids come to school ready to learn. If kids are struggling at home, it's really tough for them, and it's really tough to expect our teachers to be able to somehow miraculously make things work. So as a community, that's the thing I think we need to do, is make sure our kids are ready and prepared to come to school. Spend time reading with your children. My mother was very good at that, and I appreciate that. The other thing too is that with technology, I think that's an important issue that we're going to be dealing with, how we use technology. I think we were kind of the forefront in technology in this district, and I think it's important that our kids know how to get information, but not only know how to get that information, but to discern what is really right information, because there's a lot of information out there, and they need to know what's really true. So I think we need to develop kids who know how to reason and think things through.
Thank you, Tim. Jim, the question will be yours next.
Thank you. My name is Jim Biernat. As it said in the report there, I do have a bachelor's degree in computer information systems from DeVry Institute of Technology in Arizona. And that education has given me the foresight of really analyzing things. I also have a 3 credit hour shy of a minor in accounting. I've been involved in the Pine City JCs here in town. Many of you know me from around town, working at Walmart, different community projects, maybe even cleaning up the street once in a while. So the first day of school that I attended here was in 3rd grade, and it was my 8th birthday, and it was actually the best present I ever got in my life. I loved it here, and I have a deep emotional connection with this town. I've moved back here twice, and I also have, because of that moving, I have an understanding of being a new student. Not necessarily here because everybody knew me, but when I moved away, and I wasn't treated the way that I wanted to be treated. So they have issues and new students coming here. We have a lot of students that move away, new students that come in. The way that they're treated is important for them to feel welcome here. As far as the issues go, some of them have already touched on. One is financial, being fiscally responsible for the new money that the school has been given. Apparently, I believe the number is $432 per student that we were awarded from the state in new taxes, and to be able to spend that responsibly. The other issue that I have that I'm going to bring up is safety of our students. And we have a lot of issues with safety with other schools, and I want to continue to work with the school and bring up those safety issues. I brought up one at one school board meeting back, I believe it was in December, and that was to, possibly have a metal detector when that was required. It's not always required, but it was an issue that came up, and there was a very simple solution that I think let everybody off the hook as far as the opposite end of the spectrum was a strip search. Not good. So, but just a quick metal detection could have sent that kid back to class within minutes. And so I think the safety of our students is very important.
Thank you, Jim. Dan, Scott, do you have a microphone? I don't think so. Jim, could you? Dan, would you like me to repeat the question, or yeah?
No, I
Okay.
think I know it. The problem I'm having with it is everybody's giving all the right answers, so I gotta come up with something new, I suppose. Scotty just said that I don't need a mic because I have a big enough mouth. I wish I came after him. I'm basically a lifelong resident of Pine City too. I was born in the community and lived away from here for 2 short years and then came back. And we raised our children here and they've gone on to other places except our youngest son. He's raising his daughter in this community too. So there's a lot of satisfaction and pride in seeing good things happening in a community that you're attached to like that. I appreciate the thoughts of all of the previous candidates. These are pretty significant issues they raise. I would take a little different track on it in that one of the major issues that I see facing Pine City schools is what schools all across the nation are facing, is that we have a real serious problem with the decline of the family. Tim mentioned what it was like to grow up in a one-room school, and we learned a lot of things going into, I never attended a kindergarten class, but I was well prepared for first grade because we had parents and siblings who were very involved in our lives as we were young in helping us learn. And as Wendy mentioned, one of the reasons it's really important that we start preparing these kids earlier on in their lives than we used to have to is there aren't two parents always there, there aren't always siblings there, and there's a lot of things going on that we didn't used to see. So one of the big challenges for schools is how do we address the needs of the various kids that come to school? It takes a lot for our staff to be ready to deal with the number of kids that are in the classroom and the variety of circumstances that they come out of. So I think that's one of the big things that's facing our school as well as many other schools. And that's a tough one to handle, because just because we wish something was different doesn't mean it's going to happen. Other than being philosophical like that, two of the challenges I see as a school board member, one is acquiring quality help, quality employees that can handle the tough task of dealing with the various challenges before them, and in doing that, maintaining a sound fund balance. If our fund balance goes away and we have to start making cuts, all of the goals we have in creating an excellent system begin to get hindered and hurt, and so those are two very challenging things I see as school board members to have to deal with.
Thank you, Dan. Scott?
Yeah, going 6 probably ain't the best option here. I think most of us can agree that our test scores were slightly below Minnesota. We all agree that we got to get those up. That's hard work for the teachers and everybody involved. They need to get up. They also touched on early childhood education. If you don't get these kids prepared, when they get into kindergarten, first grade, second grade, they're going to fall behind, and these tests are going to keep going down. With that, there's a lot of challenges because each set of students each year is different. You got to teach them different. That's a couple of the major ones. There's another one is funding. Everybody hates to deal with money. Everybody hates to hear we're going to spend money. But with this, you got to understand that we got to help our teachers with their continuing education. We got to get them the resources they need. Technologies every day. My phone, it's already obsolete, and I got it a couple months ago. So we need to keep them and keep preparing our students for the technology and all that comes with the new jobs. Everything's technology, computers. So I think we need to get that taken care of.
Thank you, Scott. All right, on to our next question. Scott, you'll be number 5 next time, so you're moving on. The next question will start with Wally. This is a question from our audience. What can be done to get parents and school district residents as enthusiastic about academics as they are about athletics? Talk about, huh?
You asked the right person there. Win. Actually, they are very enthusiastic about academics, and what I base that on is the fact that according to the stats that we just got right now, we are a plus 40 in open enrollment. That means that 40 more students came in than went out. And when you start multiplying that by the basic state aid, we're talking a lot of money. So I do think at the present time that they are and care about academics. And they're not coming into Pine City because of sports. I'm sorry to say they're not. They're coming in because we have a great school. And I do think that the general public, well, I know the general public have been extremely supportive of us and the things that we have done. And they know that if they have a concern, they know they can call us and we will respond to it. Might not be the answer that they want, but we will respond to the questions that they have. And I'm extremely pleased with this community. I've been asked several times, why would you want to be on the school board and face all those calls? Well, in 5 years, I think I've got 2 or 3 phone calls other than the ones from board members. And they were all about hockey. So again, thank you, general public, the voters, for the way you have supported Pine City Schools.
Thank you, Wally. Tim, you have the answer next? Tim, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the age-old question there is, that's the first thing that we will have a full boardroom if there are issues with sports. But we don't have a full boardroom when there's issues with academics, and I'm hoping that it's because there isn't issues with academics. I think we are a strong school academically. I think it starts kind of at the top. It starts with us as board members. We believe in education. We believe in being lifelong learners, that we read things, we study, and it starts there. And it starts with administration, obviously with the superintendent is a lifelong learner, and it just goes on, trickles on down. When people see that learning is fun, then academics become important. I have to share with you a situation with my wife's grandma. We stopped at her place on the way to Fargo, North Dakota, and she lived in Fergus Falls, and she was in her 90s. And I sat down in her chair, in a rocking chair, and I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to be, polite and stuff, and trying to have some conversation. And I happened to notice that there was a dictionary set next to her table. And me being the smart one, did you have some words you needed to look up so that you understood it? And she just gave me this cute smile, and she said, no, Tim, I learned 3 new words a day. That's the idea about academics. At 90-some years old, she was still learning. And I think if we, as the board, as administration, as teachers, can instill in kids that is exciting. And today it's really exciting because you got it on your phone. You want information, it's on your phone. I don't know how many times I go to my phone because I have a question about maybe some rule as far as my building business, and I want to go through and look at it. And if kids know how to go about it, they can find the answers. And so learning is fun, and so that's what we got to teach our kids.
Thank you, Tim. Jim Biernat, you next.
There's something that I learned on TV one time watching Channel 2, and the person said kids need to learn to read, and then later on they read to learn. And I thought that was so important to say, because I never realized what that meant until that was actually just said to me. And so that is the key, the early childhood education. They don't have sports necessarily in those first few years, so they are focused on learning more until they get to the little advanced grades. I personally participated in football in 8th and 9th grade. Sometimes it was kind of tough to get to the sporting events just because we couldn't drive yet. And we had to rely on neighbors to bring us. It was very important to me. I started basketball here in 6th grade. I moved away for a couple of years, but I came back and I lettered in basketball in 1982. And I am so proud of that letterman's jacket. Sports was very important to me, but also I knew that at some point it ended. Even though I can exercise and play basketball anytime after that, I knew that college was the next step and I needed to prepare myself for that. And so I took classes that my dad recommended. He recommended the math and science classes. I took every one that was possible. And I also took accounting. And those classes meant more to me and still mean more to me today than the other classes that I had. But it was just a very important foundation to start with. And just to steer people in the right direction if they can find what they want to do in life. Even in 9th grade civics class, we had to pick 3 possible career choices. And one of them happens to be a computer operator. Now, I didn't really know what that meant. I knew what the picture had in it, but my dad was an electronics engineer, and I knew that was a part of what he was involved in, and so I wanted to continue that, and I actually got the chance to do some programming with my dad. Very, very light programming in early years when we had basic programming. But really the education from one standpoint of a friend of mine told me that in all the sports that he's ever done, he's excelled in all of them, holds records and everything. He said the most important out of anything is getting your education.
Thank you, Jim. Dan Peterson?
I was looking to see if we actually had a mic at our table. So Scotty said we could try this, but is that
It's
meant?
not as cool looking as this one, but that's kind of how it works.
But it does work.
Doesn't have the phone.
Okay. Well, one of the answers to this question is pretty simple, and that's that sports is meant to be fun. It's recreation, and that's how it should be approached. We teach it to our kids because it helps them be more well-rounded in their development, and it's fun to participate in it. How many of us are as excited when we get up on Monday morning to go to our regular job, other than Annette, our superintendent, as we would be if we were getting up on Saturday morning to head off for a week of camping or hunting, something like that. So it's just a natural distinction between recreation and work. But we need to teach our kids as they're coming up the significance and the importance of having your priorities right and putting in an effort for what your responsibilities are. And with most of our kids, as they're in school, their responsibility is to study. And then, to go along with that, I don't see anything, especially as we become adults and we can choose what we want to investigate and study and learn. It does become far more exciting, and it does become almost recreational, the learning that we can do. But I think that's something that well-gifted teachers are real good at in helping kids learn. When we see students excelling in classrooms, a lot of it has to do with how well the teachers are doing. So that goes back to the thought of it's really important that we secure good people in the positions throughout the district.
Thank you, Dan. Scott?
Well, I played everything you could have played here for sports except for hockey. I don't know why. But I think, like everybody's saying, with our team, to be well-rounded, I feel you gotta play sports, you gotta get involved in extracurricular activity. It teaches our kids how to have fun. It teaches, like, our board members gotta do teamwork, even though they don't all agree on the same thing. That helps them. It teaches them adversity, and it also teaches them they gotta have sportsmanship, they gotta treat other people like they wanna be treated. So I think Pine City here did a good job for me, at least, for that part. Pine City has a great education. I have 5 siblings personally that have graduated from here. I got 7 first cousins, and I'm gonna have 6 second cousins. They're gonna stay here. They don't wanna go anywhere else. I got my 2 boys here. I was talking to our superintendent. Academics here must have worked because there's a bunch of teachers in elementary school that actually graduated from Pine City School that decided their education was good enough to come back here and teach. So I feel just like him that it's the teachers. I feel that the teachers, I had good teachers, there's a lot of them. When I came here in 3rd grade, I was bad. I mean, I was pretty much, I swear Mr. Hamley wanted to throw me out of that class as fast as I got in there. But with those people, I understand dealing with males wasn't my best kind of thing because of my father and family history. I came here and I had Mr. Hamley, I still call him that, I don't call him by Dick, I just call him Mr. Hamley. I had him first, and he took the time that I hope other teachers take to sit down with me. He actually came to my house, sat down with my parents, and worked stuff out to help me out. So I'm hoping teachers learn from that lesson.
Thank you, Scott. And Wendy?
All right, so parents and community excited about academics. I don't know if it was Tim or Wally that said parents are not at the board meetings. The only time that they come to the board meetings is when they're upset about sports. And so that tells me that our schools are doing something right. Our teachers are doing something right. And so there's 2 examples that I think of that right off I think give good examples of parents and the community being excited. So first is last year I got to go to the 6th grade science fair and be a judge for the first 6th grade science fair that we had. And it was amazing, the projects that these students did and interacted with the community. There were community members, there were teachers, there was past teachers that came in and judged these science fair projects. And the excitement that those students had just flowed over into the parents and the community that were involved in the room. And that's exciting. And so that you could see that excitement of the academics side of things. And then last year we have a Dragon Academy at the school, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it is a project-based learning for, I believe it's 9th and 10th grade. And we got to go to the classroom and see what they had been working on. And they had actually been building a boat. The students were building a boat, and they were learning how to use math to create the proper angles, how to use science to figure out what materials to use. And there was a parent there whose student had been involved in the Dragon Academy, and the parent teared up as they were saying how this program had changed their students' life and their students' perspective on school. And there are things like that happening every day in our school that are impacting our parents and our community and just showing that Pine City is a solid school district. And can I take my last minute to introduce myself? All right. So my name is Wendy Leibel, and I have been a resident of Pine City since about kindergarten. We moved here in kindergarten. Mr. Hamley actually was a huge impact on my early education. I grew up in those development years in the South, and so when I came here, I couldn't say my R's, and so it was, Mom, can you brush my hay? And so he actually helped me with my language development and my speech. But I married a Pine City boy. We have been married almost 20 years, and I have a senior this year and a sophomore. And so I am, we love Pine City as a community, and I'm proud to be a parent of Pine City students.
Thank you, Wendy. Tim Geisler, you'll answer this question first. What would you do to try and get parents more involved with school activities along with their children?
No, I did hear what you said. I'm just trying to think that one through. What would we do? I guess it starts with us again. Be out in the community. Let them know that the community is, that they're an important part of the community. That's tough to try and figure out what we can do to get people to get more involved. I think it has to do with taking ownership in the school, being proud of the fact that you're a Pine City Dragon. You know, when you tell people that, yeah, you graduated from Pine City, that Pine City is a good town, you know, just some enthusiasm in that. I don't have any specific things as far as what we could do to get them more involved. Again, I think it comes to staff being out there involved in the community. I know that our superintendent is going to be very visible, and that's a big thing. The same with the rest of the staff administration, being visible out there at games, at events, being involved in other organizations to help promote the school. You know, other than that, right at this moment, I don't have a lot of ideas on that as to how to encourage people. We could start, you know, there are sports boosters and stuff like that they get involved in sports. But again, I think again the most important thing is that people understand that we are here for the academics. We want to train kids so that they can be effective in what we're going to have as far as a global economy and understanding that. And I think that's really our job.
Thank you, Tim. Jim Biernat?
I guess the quick answer is to add more hours to the day. But the parents are the first teachers of any child before they get to school. And just taking time with them at home, not just asking them, is your homework done and anything like that, but really following up, looking at the homework, looking at it, maybe giving them suggestions of correction with not actually doing it for them, but helping them see maybe that they missed something or didn't do it quite right and going back over it. Spending time with your child is the most important to me. I learned a very little quick lesson at Christmas time with my nieces, and I couldn't figure out what to get them for Christmas. And so I was kind of stewing about it. It was a Christmas Eve. I was driving around like a maniac. What do I get them? And I finally hit on the fact that I should get them a Do Something with Uncle Jim coupon book. And so I took them to Chuck E. Cheese, gave them $10 of Chuck E. Bucks. We had a good time, had pizza, gave the parents a break, came home, and instead of the thank you that most everybody else got for their gift, I got the I love you. And I think that love of education has to start with the parents, has to stay at home, has to keep on track with the parents, and like I said, hold them accountable for their own child as well as the school.
Thank you, Jim. Dan Peterson?
The dilemma is there's so little time. And I think so many of the parents and so many people in the community who maybe don't have kids in the school are so busy with things. Just the ordinary lives people live keep them busy on it in and of itself. So the avenues for involvement that if we seek to have people involved in more activities and more events within the school, they have to be made known and plain and probably the invitations have to come frequently and sincerely. But I think there will be a segment of people that you just will have a hard time drawing in when our kids were little, we were fortunate that on occasion somebody would ask, hey, we're doing this, would you help out? And we usually help out. We had to bring the kids into the event, so we'd do something. And I got involved when Gene Beaver, who was a former Pine Tech president, came to town. He started an elementary basketball program that hadn't been going on for a while. And I got involved in that, and pretty soon he decided he was going to go to school to be a deacon, and somebody else was going to have to run this. So he told me that was going to be me. So I did that for 17 years, and it was, I loved it. I loved working with these kids. It was Saturday mornings, and you get to see all these fresh, eager faces. What I hadn't expected was going to happen through that is that I've made many lifelong friends. They were little kids running around in the gym, but to my surprise, they grew up and they became adults, and you develop things in your life that you maybe would never have had the opportunity to develop in another way if you take the risk and get involved in something. So that's been my encouragement to other friends and to young people like that who are now adults in their life is, whatever your kids are doing, get involved in that. Follow them around in it, and you'll be surprised how much fun and enjoyment you'll have, and all the rewards that are going to come down the pipe for you. So.
Thank you, Dan. Scott?
Like they all said, it's hard with our schedules. Some parents have to work alternate shifts. Daycare is expensive, so I tried it. I didn't like that. It's hard to, even if we try to have more boosters, you still got to have the people willing to volunteer, willing to get out there and willing to help. Just like, it's hard. It's hard to get people with their schedules in tune with everything else. There's some stuff I was thinking about this is like maybe have a parent, student, kids, like a lock-in where their parent comes just with them and they do their math, reading, arts, sports. There's one program that our basketball coach does. It's that Big Buddy program. I like that. You take somebody with you, family member, cousin, whatever, and I feel that we need more stuff like that. And the only way, like Dan said here, you gotta send invitations, you gotta send emails, because people forget a lot. So that's about all I can say about that. It's really hard, like they all said, to get people involved with the schedules.
Thank you, Scott. Wendy?
All right, so they all touched on families are busy, parents are busy. There's a lot more single parent homes than there has been in the past. And so I think about it, and I think that parent involvement is probably going to look different in the future than it has in the past. Things are going to happen in a different way. Our elementary school is sending out a weekly video of here's what happened this past week in the school. They're sending that to the parents. That is going to spark that interest in the parents that have time to get involved, that they might want to come into the school. But we also maybe need to just start thinking creatively as a community, what can we do to reach parents in a new and a different way than we have? That we have to, my family is busy. I have a senior and a sophomore. I'm a student myself. My husband and I both work full time. We're very involved in the community. It's different. It's our time. We only have so much time, and so what we want to do well. And I think that as a school too, we may have to limit some of the things that we do, so that the things that we do, that we put out, that we're inviting families to come into our schools for, we are doing those things very well, and that they then want to be involved with that.
Thank you, Wendy. Wally?
I think that Pine City Schools has done a great job in regard to getting parents involved. And the way that they've done this is by keeping them informed. About 3 years ago, in May, I was contacted by the superintendent, and he asked me if I would come in and sub-teach in a particular class for the balance of the year. And I said I would do that. On the first day, we tried to get the curriculum together and realized that the past teacher would have quizzes or tests or worksheets or something that was scored every single day. And at the end of the day, I found out what school view is. And school view is the parents then can check in and find out how their student is doing with technology. And so, starting on day 2, I would, I had a study hall towards the end of the day, and then after school, I would post then how each student did, all 125. It took me quite a while to do that, but I was amazed. Within 30 minutes sometimes, an email would come back, thank you for this, and that's not the story my son's telling me. So, the old story is, parents, please don't believe everything that your kids say happened in school, and we won't believe what they say happens in your homes either. So I think we're really doing a great job with that school view, and I think that parents have really bought into that. You know, it's really different being a kid now. You can't get by with anything. You know, in the old days, you could always tell Dad that, you know, you unhooked the speedometer or whatever, and you could go where you wanted. Now, with the cell phones, you can't tell them the batteries went dead every night, you know. So, again, I think we've done a great job with that school view, and I think it's used quite a bit, too.
Thank you, Wally. With respect to time, I think we'll go straight to the closing remarks. Each candidate will get 3 minutes again to just give closing remarks. Any other comments or want to elaborate? Tim Geisler should be the first one to start this.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming and staying so late and listening to all of us. The one thing I did fail to mention in my bio is that I have been a substitute teacher for 3 years. First year was at Pine City, and then I opened myself up to other schools, and I ended up spending about 53 days substitute teaching in 3 years. So I got quite a good perspective from the students that are in today's classrooms. They taught me different things that they did that I didn't do. They probably skipped ahead a step and forgot formulas and tried to get the answer quick. But it was a real pleasure to work with the kids, and I've always got along with every different group of people, even my own classmates, some of them that were smart, some of them that really didn't care about school, but I always was able to talk to everybody and listen to what they had to say. Now that I've been running for school board, I've got to talk to a few parents and get a little input from them as well. So it's been an interesting viewpoint because everybody has their own opinion, they have their own story. They've got their own education background that they're relying upon, and everybody has their own belief system and the way that they handle their own families at home. So, but it's pulling that all together into the lump of education and bringing it to a point where the kids feel like they've got what they went to school for. I know some of them don't, some of them do drop out. Some of my friends dropped out. I feel sad for them, but actually some of them are more successful than I am. And so it really doesn't, it's not the best indicator for your success, because other people can be successful even without it. But I feel that for me, it was very important. For many people, it's important to get that. They just got their education in a different way. But all in all, it's still about education and learning. And we've got to put the students first in our community. I love the community support here in Pine City. I love the sports here in Pine City. And most of all, I moved back here twice because I enjoy the people that are here and have trust in with the people in Pine City. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Dan Peterson?
Okay, I was thinking about a gentleman I met this morning. I was on a job site, and he was asking me some questions about Pine City. He's a fairly new resident. But he started talking about his appreciation for school. He has 3 kids that they're going to, and he came from a community not very far from here. And he said they moved up here specifically because he had gone to this school. That's where he grew up, was in this town. And he said, I didn't want to put my kids through the same thing. And he's been involved with the school, primary, elementary, and gone on field trips and done some things like that. The statement he made to me was, it's pretty easy to see that the people at the Pine City schools know what they're doing. And I think that's one of the things that we see, and we know there's a big caring attitude among staff. And that's one of the things that makes being on the school board such an interesting process, is there's always people to go to that are working with the kids of our community who have a deep abiding concern for those kids and the education that they're trying to help them accomplish.
Yeah, Scott?
Okay, one of the things that I like to say is the public seldom sees the tough tasks that face school boards. Some of them just don't understand. And I commend the ones that have done it because I've seen results. And my kids are here, they're here because of you guys, and I think that that's why I want to stay here with my kids. I'm the youngest one up here, unfortunately, which can mean a good and bad thing. Good because I have different views, or refresher views. Bad because inexperience. My willingness to learn is one of my key things. My job has been investing in me. I actually take some classes online from here at my work. They're manufacturing and leadership and advanced, like forklift operations. I do basically the inventory management, so they've been helping me with that. They've taken me to first aid and safety training, so I feel that if they're willing to invest in me, hopefully a lot of people will also think that that's good and invest in me also. One of the key things for me is I'm getting older. My kids came here. I ran one other time. It's due to the fact is I got kids and I want to see them. I want to be more involved. I want to be a role model for them and my family and friends that have graduated here. And basically I want to keep the tradition for my family of graduating Dragon alive.
Thank you, Scott. Wendy?
All right, I'm proud to be a Dragon. I'm proud to be raising kids that will someday say that they are a Dragon. My husband, we just had his 25th high school reunion this past weekend, class of 91, and we are a Dragon family. When my kids were young, I volunteered many hours in the classrooms. I had volunteered hours in booster clubs for basketball, for the band and choir booster club. I have helped in a lot of different ways, and for me, being on the school board, when I ran 4 years ago or 5 years ago, it was just a natural extension of that volunteering in the school, wanting to give back to our community in a way that I thought that I could make a difference. And so as we're going into this election, whether I am re-elected or not, I am committed to Pine City Schools, and I will remain involved, and someday I hope to maybe have a grandchild or two that will be a Dragon. So, thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. Wally?
I'm running for re-election because I have a passion for public schools, Pine City Public Schools. When I ran 5 years ago, I stated this passion. I never thought that 5 years later, it would intensify and become greater. There's church and family and school, and at least one person out there will say, well, I think you got that mixed up a little bit. I'm so-called retired, so I have the time and the energy, and as I approach the conclusion of my 5th year, there's been 58 regular meetings, monthly meetings, and I've been present at all 58. There have been roughly 400 special meetings, committee meetings, or just plain school business. And I've missed I've been present at 398 of them. I think I'm a team player. I've been on the short end of 6-1 votes, and I realized right away that 6 wins and 1 doesn't, even though those 6 were wrong. I followed, what the wishes of the majority were, and didn't go around pouting. I feel that I have the knowledge necessary to be a school board member. I've taken all 4 of the classes that the Minnesota State School Board Association has us take. Gone through 5 years of officer training. I've served as the clerk for all 5 years. I'm in my 4th year now as a delegate to the school board delegate assembly, which takes place in December, and they will be setting the platform on what they want the Senate and the House to do. I thought we were extremely successful last time when we were offered 0% increases, and we were hoping for 1, so we asked for 3 and got 2, so that was great. So we got 2 and 2, and they treated us very well in the last go around. I don't have any kids in school, but I did have a daughter that went through Pine City schools, and she was much better off because she did, and she's done quite well. And I'd like to think, and I know Tim thinks the same way, that I have to stop, but I have 1,625 kids in school now.
Thanks, Wally.
Oops, I guess we'll go one way. Yeah, that was a line that you stole, but I'll tell you. Anyway, first of all, I'd like to thank Pine Tech, thank the Chamber of Commerce and Window. Thank you, Becky. You must have wrote my bio.
With Dad's help.
Okay, great, thank you. What had happened is I've been out of town a lot, and I come back from being out of town, and well, let's get the mail. Is there anything in the mail? Is there anything in the mail? There's got to be something about the school board or the Pioneers. I need to have that. Nope. Thank goodness Wally here said, asked me what I was doing today. I said, well, I'm supposed to be down in Independence working on a job. He said, well, you're going to make the forum, aren't you? I'm like, forum? And went back right away and found, as I went through the political junk mail, wish the politicians were here, and found it. So thank you very much for allowing me to come here. One of the other things I want to thank is I want to thank this community, because I don't know how many years ago when our first referendum came, and you passed it. And without that, we would have been struggling. There would have been programs cut. We wouldn't know what we've done. So you are, the good things you see at Pine City, you are responsible for it too. The other thing I'd like to thank is the board members. Steve Odegaard and I received a plaque last year at the school board convention for 20 years of service. And it's hard to believe that that's 20 years has passed. But what I tell people is that I've always enjoyed working on this board, and that's why I run again, is because you get to speak what you think. And it may not go your way, but there's never animosity. You know, we go on. I remember, just like you're saying, I remember making one vote against, and someone come up to me and asked me, well, what are you gonna do about it, or kind of like that, and I said, well, I know what I'm gonna do. 6 voted for it, I'm gonna support it as best I can. I'm gonna support it. And so that's what we do as a board. And so that's what's been really enjoyable to be on this board, is that I think this board works. And I think this board gets things done. And you have a good school here. And I'm proud to be a part of it, and I thank you for that. There were a few other things, if I got time here. I'm running out of time. I lost my notes. Here they are. Here. Part of the things too is that when we talked about, you know, how stop. Oh. That's perfect.
This march is almost stopped.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. On behalf of the Pine City Area Chamber of Commerce, the Pine Technical Community College, and Winter Veteran Services who put this on. Thanks for all the candidates for showing up tonight and participating. I thought it went well on both the events we held tonight. Thank you all for attending. Thanks for your questions. There was only one question we didn't get to at a time, but thank you everybody for coming.